NATO leaders are set to make a major decision on defense spending this week. And it's one that could reshape military budgets across the alliance for the next decade. At a summit in The Hague on Wednesday, leaders are expected to endorse a new defense spending target, one significantly higher than what's been in place for the last decade. The move comes after sustained pressure from the United States, particularly President Donald Trump. The proposed target, 5% of each country's gross domestic product or GDP dedicated to both core defense and broader security. That is more than double the current NATO benchmark of 2% agreed back in 2014. Here's how it breaks down. 3.5% of GDP on core defense, which is troops, weapons and equipment, and 1.5% on wider security needs, including cyber defenses, military use infrastructure like roads and ports, and energy pipeline protection. So when are countries expected to hit this new target? The timeline is ambitious. NATO members have until 2035 to meet the new standard, with a checkpoint review set for 2029. If every member had already been spending at this level in 2024, total defense spending would have hit roughly $1.75 trillion compared to $1.3 trillion actually spent. So why this big increase now? The war in Ukraine, fears over future Russian aggression, and concern about potential US troop withdrawals from Europe have pushed European countries to invest more heavily in defense. NATO has also set new classified capability targets for each member, outlining the kind of forces, equipment and logistics that they need to meet alliance-wide goals. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has said key priorities are air defense, fighter jets, tanks, drones and logistics. But is everyone on board? Not exactly. Spain, for one, says it can meet its capability goals while spending just 2.1% of GDP, well below the new target. While Madrid has signed the agreement, it's made clear it does not plan to reach the full 5%. NATO says that could be a problem, and all countries' progress will be tracked. Some analysts expect others to fall short as well, even if they publicly support the target.
So I think the biggest challenge for NATO on the horizon is the intersection of the low cost of shooting waves and waves of long-range attack drones alongside rapid targeting adjustment using AI and offensive cyber. Russia has proven it will attack NATO member states with cyber any time of the day. It's also developed this new technique of using criminal groups as a service to do sabotage. So when I imagine a future opening Russian strike against NATO member states, I think it's a mix of that gray zone criminal activity, cyber, and they're targeted to open the door for a wave of long-range Shaheeds and cruise missiles, what the Russians actually call non-contact warfare, striking critical infrastructure and trying to force a concession from a NATO member state or even the alliance itself. And what that means for investments in the alliance's future is it's going to mean really doubling down on additional cyber investments, thinking about counterintelligence, where it's not necessarily a military capability, it's interfacing with law enforcement as well, and then really addressing this air defense. How do you defend very long borders against Russia's long-range strike apparatus?
The UK, however, is all in. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has promised the biggest sustained increase in British defense spending since the Cold War, with a shift toward drones and cyber warfare rather than just growing troop numbers. When it comes to comparison, NATO allies still spent far less as a share of GDP than Russia, which spent over 7% of its economy on the military last year. But in pure dollars, NATO's combined spending dwarfs Moscow's. China, by contrast, spends just under 2% of GDP on its military. So, a new defense era is taking shape in Europe. Whether countries meet the target or not, the message from this week's NATO summit is clear. The alliance is preparing for a more dangerous world and paying more to protect itself.